Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Chris Maloney back with you for another edition of CWN Weekly, episode number 25. Today is Friday, February the 5th, 2021, and it was interesting because I was going into putting together the notes today for the show. I was thinking to myself, hey, there's nobody had passed away, and then sure enough, within a couple hours, news broke about two individuals there. And unfortunately, I will get to that momentarily there. Anniversaries and birthdays this week. Ron Hutchison, birthday is February the 7th, age 57. So he will, he's getting up there. He's almost 60 years old there. So, but like I said, age 57 on the February the 7th there, as well as on the 8th, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Unfortunately passed away August 13th, 2018 at the age of 63. He was born in 1955, so doing the math here, 45 years old, plus 21. He would have been, looks like about 66 if my math is correct there. But Jimmy Anvil Neidhart's birthday was on the 8th, and or coming up on the 8th, sorry. And anyways, like I said, he unfortunately passed away August 13th, 2018 at the age of 63. So anniversaries, birthdays for the week, those are them. Then we get into the major news, and the major news is unfortunate, both from the wrestling world as well as the entertainment world. So I'll get to this first. Today announced Butch Reed passes away. WB.com is putting out the article here. WB is saddened to learn that Butch Reed passed away today at the age of 66. Native of Kansas City, Missouri, Reed embraced the sport of professional wrestling after a professional football career with Kansas City Chiefs. Reed quickly proved himself to be a force in Mid-South wrestling promotion and battles against legendary competitors such as Ric Flair, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Jim Neidhart, and more. The natural Butch Reed crashed onto the WWE scene with a brash blonde hair and a statement win over Coco Beware at WrestleMania 3. Reed found himself at the crossroads of history, competing in the first ever Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble matches in WWE history. After a match against Macho Man and Randy Savage at WrestleMania 4, Reed departed WWE and would go on to partner with Ron Simmons in WCW as the tag team Doom. Doom would defeat the Steiner Brothers at Capital Combat to claim the NWA tag team titles. Following a highly successful run as WCW World Tag Team Champions, Reed and Simmons would eventually share the ring for a one-on-one steel cage match showdown at Super Bowl I. WB extends its condolences to Reed's family and friends. So, unfortunately, like I said, Butch Reed ends up passing away. There, you saw the opening graphic there in the beginning. So that is unfortunate news. As a personal note, it's interesting because the fact is, when I was growing up as a kid, teenager, it was all about the early WrestleMania. So WrestleMania 3, 4, 5, 6, those there. And to me, when I first learned about who Butch Reed was, obviously it was through, being the Natural with Slick as his manager. And then going on to WCW, that tag team known as Doom, first managed by Woman and then managed by Teddy Long. They came out with the masks, just these big burly guys that you don't want to necessarily pick a fight with. And then when it comes down to it, they get unmasked. It's revealed it's Ron Simmons and Butch Reed. Teddy Long takes over the services. And to me, that was Butch Reed. But when you go into looking into his history, and not just as a wrestler, but he played football. I think it was an ankle injury that ended his career as far as football goes. Early career, and I've read this through several sources this afternoon, but Butch Reed was trained to wrestle by Ronnie Hutchison, debuting in 1978. Early on, he wrestled as Butch Reed, adopting the Hacksaw nickname over time. Reed and Jerry Roberts beat Mike George and Bob Sweeten for the NWA Central Tag Team Championship in 1980. So this is all the way back to 1980 there. And if you're not sure who Jerry Roberts is, that's Jacques Rougeau Jr., otherwise known as the Mountie. So that is who that is. His next title also came one half of a tag team where he and Sweet Brown Sugar won the Florida version of the NWA North American Tag Team Championship when they beat Dory Funk Jr. and David Von Erich. Reed wrestled mainly for NWA in the early 80s and made a name for himself in St. Louis, Florida Championship Wrestling, and Georgia Championship Wrestling territories there. So, big history of him in tag team wrestling, so to speak. Even before he came to the WWE, and, he was part of WrestleMania 3 in the Survivor Series, WrestleMania 4, obviously, as well. And then you go down to his, championships and accomplishments here. Central States Wrestling Championship Wrestling from Florida, Georgia Championship Wrestling, Global Wrestling Federation, Insane Championship Wrestling, Mid-South Wrestling Association, Mid-States Wrestling, so all over the place. Pro Wrestling Illustrated ranked him number 174 of the 500 best singles wrestlers during the PWI years in 2003. Ranked him number one of the, not number one, but 91 of the 100 best tag teams during the PWI years with Ron Simmons, 2003 as well. He also was part of World Championship Wrestling, of course, United States Wrestling Association, World League Wrestling, and he got 2 Wrestling Observer newsletter awards with the strongest wrestler in 1984, and then the most sad to say this, but the most unimproved in 1987. But the natural Butch Reed, Hacksaw Butch Reed, Doom, it's unfortunately he ended up passing away. Unfortunately, today, earlier on, like I said, the news broke. And when it comes to it, he was a natural athlete. He looked like a wrestler. He trained like a wrestler. In his first year of training as a wrestler, he basically did what he could to learn it as much as he possibly could. And obviously had the career that he had. I guess I shouldn't say rumor, but what's being posted is the fact is he had a heart attack, and that's what led to him passing away there. So unfortunately, Butch Reed passes away at the age of 66, announced today. And his birthday was 1954, July 11th in Kansas City, Missouri there. So it would have been cool for him, personally, to be able to play for the Kansas City Chiefs, being a Kansas City boy there. But thoughts and prayers to his fans, friends, and family. 66 years old, not the youngest, so to speak, but not also the oldest either. So thoughts and prayers with Butch Reed and his family, friends, and fans there. On other news as well, and I got to bring this up because of my wife. And she's a huge fan of this movie called The Sound of Music, to the point that we, in early days, so to speak, when we were first together, she wanted to go see movies that would come out in a theater, and not necessarily new movies, but we have this theater here that was playing classic movies. So we've seen a couple of them, in Back to the Future 1 and 2. I've seen live in the theater with her, so to speak. They had a Back to the Future night with regards to, I think it was the 25th or the 30th anniversary. I think it was. I want to say 1985. Maybe 30. Well, what would that be? 2015? Yeah, it might have been then, because we started dating in 2014. But anyways, one of the other movies that she was a fan of, still is a fan of, is The Sound of Music. And a true story is usually on Christmas Eve, we'll be wrapping gifts, and she'll go in one room and I'll go in the other room, and Sound of Music will be on, and she'll be watching that. And I'll end up watching usually Charlie Brown, followed by like Wonderful Life and this and that. But unfortunate news, Canadian actor Christopher Plummer passed away at the age of 91. This comes courtesy of CTV News. So Christopher Plummer, the Oscar-winning actor legend whose storied career encompassed stage, television, and film, who was perhaps best known for portraying Captain George, I want to say George, Von Trapp, and The Sound of Music, has died. Plummer died peacefully at his home in Connecticut Friday morning after suffering a fall 2.5 weeks ago, said his wife, English actress Lane Plummer. He was 91 years old. And I do believe they were married for 50 plus years. But anytime I ever hear, Sound of Music or Christopher Plummer, I immediately think of my wife. So thoughts and prayers, long life, 91 years old. But that movie is, epic as far as movies go. And he was a Canadian actor. And if you look behind me there, Sound of Music DVD is behind me there. Right next to Bret Hart and the hashtag, of course. But thoughts and prayers with Christopher Plummer's family, 91 years old. So again, sad, like I said, with regards to, putting together the show and not seeing anybody passing away. And then today, 2 of them. I mean, obviously, entertainment-wise, Christopher Plummer, but anybody who's Canadian should know his name. And again, thoughts and prayers with Butch Reed and his family and friends and fans there. So, Chris Maloney, London, Ontario, Canada. And this is the news of the week, courtesy of CWNonline.ca. So this is the big news that I posted on the website. If you've watched the show before, you're familiar with it, but I just got to go through it quickly here. So the 29th, Io Shirai to defend against Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez at TakeOver. That is the first match that was to be part of TakeOver. With no name yet, so to speak. So I'll get more into that in a couple moments here. Followed up by New Japan Strong results. Jon Moxley appears. So that is big news of the week as well, because that is kind of the starting point to what we've seen and know this week here. So New Japan Strong takes place every Friday night, 10 p.m. New Japan World. So it's their New Japan of America version, so to speak, that they play every single week. But and it was a match between Lio Rush, TJP, and Fred Rosser against the Bullet Club, which was Kenta Hikuleo as well as El Fantasmo. Final moments of the match were this. So Bullet Club jumped Rosser, TJP, and Rush after the match. The lights went out for a few moments. When they came back on, we saw Moxley in the ring with the IWGP US title across his shoulder. Took out Hikuleo as well as ELP with the belt before getting into it with Kenta, with the number one contender, briefcase holder to that title. They tried elbows before Kenta tried hoisting Moxley up into a fireman's carry for the GTS, so they go to sleep. Mox countered and turned it into a Death Rider DDT. So from there, he goes, "I think you thought you were going to get off easy, my man," Mox told Kenta before departing, including this final line. Your dream of becoming IWGP US champion just became a nightmare. So that was the beginning of the end, so to speak, for Kenta, so to speak, like I said. So again, we go from New Japan Strong, and I'll get more into it just in a little bit here. But I just want to keep the news in sync as far as the week itself goes. Then we get to New Japan Pro Wrestling, the New Beginning in Nagoya live results. Reason I bring this up, so this took place in January 30th, and the main event was Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on Shingo Takagi, the Dragon, for the Never Openweight Championship match. In the Never Openweight Championship. And sure enough, after 35 minutes and 40 seconds, Shingo loses the title, and we have a new champion, never openweight champion with Hiroshi Tanahashi. So final moments was Tana hit another high fly flow for the pin to win the title. Shingo patted the title on Tana's shoulder after the match in a sign of respect. They both held up one finger to suggest they do it one more time. Tana appeared to close the show with a promo and some air guitar. Great Khan interrupted the encore and hit a dominator. He cut a promo on the fallen Tanahashi and held the never title over him. So that is where it is going over there as far as New Japan and Tanahashi goes. So that'll be interesting there. Big news as well going into Royal Rumble weekend, which was last weekend, was WWE's Mia Yim test positive for COVID-19. So it was interesting because of the fact, going into Royal Rumble, they all have to get the test. 30 men, 30 women, plus the everybody around to make Royal Rumble happen. And this came out on January 30th, so the day before Royal Rumble there. So Mia Yim tested positive for COVID-19 in a test taken on Saturday afternoon. Yim posted a statement on Twitter announcing that she, while she had debunked a rumor that she was positive with COVID-19 early in the day, she tested positive in a test taken this afternoon. Quote, "This morning at around 10:30 a.m., I debunked a rumor stating I was positive with COVID. For that, I must make a statement. I've been getting tested every week for several months now. All have been negatives. I was negative last week. I got tested this afternoon, less than an hour ago, and it came back positive. Please respect my privacy. Please stay safe, wash your hands, and wear a mask. I see you all soon." So the follow-up to that was with regards to the Royal Rumble, her obviously being out of it, but Keith Lee as well. So her real-life boyfriend, husband, maybe, I believe they're married. So I'm going to say husband. Obviously had to quarantine as well. So Keith Lee was not part of Royal Rumble last Sunday. So, it's the safety protocols and measures that they have to do. But that's we've seen it, this year and last year. Moxley and Renee Paquette and others as well, because they've been linked. So, it's, they have to do what's necessary, which meant Keith Lee was not part of the Royal Rumble there last weekend. What was part of last weekend, though? Bret Hart, Rikishi, and Sergeant Slaughter tell Yokozuna stories. That was part of WWE Icons Revisited. So that was hosted by Ryan. I always forget his last name. And then the other dude there from the Bump. And basically, they brought them on. Bret Hart came on first, told a story about them, I think, going over to Japan, and the wrestlers were in first class. And apparently, Owen was part of this as well. And when it come down to it, it was, the wrestlers just being wrestlers on a plane. And apparently they had businessmen on the plane in first class as well. And Yoko and Owen just basically were just themselves. Business guys got kind of PO'd because they couldn't get sleep on a long 15-hour flight to Japan. So Owen's telling the story, I guess, to Brett. And anyways, long story short, it sounds like Yoko didn't take too fondly to the business guys complaining, because apparently he let out this huge fart. And Brett said it went on for minutes, but I can just imagine, and just the look on Yoko's face as he's doing this, because I got to see him, like I said, live once, and he was Owen was making fun of a drunk guy front row, and Yoko had to bury his head into the corner turnbuckle just because he was laughing. He was supposed to be a heel, you know what I mean? So I can just imagine that story there. Sergeant Slaughter told a story about him and what they should do with Yokozuna, and next thing you know, apparently Vince called Yoko as well as Mr. Fuji to his office, and that's how that got, that's how that happened. Rikishi was on the show as well. Basically, said, he was not to be part of the Head Shrinkers originally. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, Yokozuna becomes Yokozuna. And because of that, the Head Shrinkers, basically are formed with regards to Samu as well as Rikishi there, Fatu. And, the rest is history, but it was good. The Icons show was great as well. I mean, you see the classic moments of Yokozuna, but then you see how hard it was at the very end for him, unfortunate. But then you hear the stories from Bret Hart, like I said, Sergeant Slaughter, Rikishi as well. So it was cool to hear there. But it's like I said last week, it's one of those things that you don't necessarily realize how much you respect some of these wrestlers until you get older in life. But Yoko's was one of those guys that I truly did respect watching back his matches now. Other news, Belair and Edge triumph at Royal Rumble to punch their ticket to WrestleMania. If you want to hear my thoughts on it, go to YouTube or Facebook or Twitch and look up CWN Recap WB Royal Rumble 2021. But I will say this. I will say the event was absolutely amazing. From start to finish, I think I gave it a 9 out of 10. It was interesting to see Edge enter as number one and then win it all. And if you watch the match, you can tell he was tired at points. Just basically collecting himself 90-second intervals. So you times that by 30 and basically get 45 minutes that you're in there in the ring. And then, basically it's almost like an hour long that I think Edge was in there. The official stats are out there somewhere, but then Bianca Belair winning it and then losing it when she got backstage. And when I say losing it, I just mean the emotions had taken over. And, she's going to be a true superstar. I saw her on The Bump this past Wednesday, and they interviewed her. And, she just, you can tell she just loves the business and she loves being an athlete. So congrats to both of them. From there, on the first New Japan Road to Beginning results, 10-man elimination match. Jay White returns, attacks Ishii. So obviously, Jay White's not going anywhere, not retiring, but he is back with New Japan Pro Wrestling as far as their shows go. From there, 2021 Men's Royal Rumble match winner Edge joins WB after the bell this Thursday, which was actually yesterday. So you can check that out on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Look for Corey Graves after the bell with his interview there with Edge. Jonathan Gresham resigns with ROH. That was announced on the 1st as well. John Cena WrestleMania 37 appearance not possible due to COVID. That was part of SportsIllustrated.com, so SI.com. I'm going to bring up the article here because some of the quotes that John Cena actually referenced was hit and miss, I guess. It'll be interesting. I don't think he's lying when he says he can't be part of WrestleMania there at the venue, but I still think he's going to be part of WrestleMania. So John Cena goes on to say there's no mathematical way he can be at the event this year. Super Bowl, you can see John Cena, but this at WrestleMania, you won't. Latest step in John Cena's career is starring in a Mountain Dew ad that will air this Sunday during the first half of the Super Bowl. Spot promotes Mountain Dew's newest flavor, Major Melon. Article goes on to say that basically John Cena right now is in Vancouver. So he goes and quotes, currently I'm in Vancouver shooting Peacemaker, the series for HBO Max. Cena says, given the quarantine regulations, if I were to leave Canada upon return, I would have to quarantine for another 2 weeks. Essentially, that would shut production down. Strictly based on the letter of the law right now, there's no logistical way I can be there. We film now until July. So it is wrestling. It's, take it with a grain of salt, so to speak. But if John Cena cannot be part of WrestleMania, there's nothing to say that WrestleMania can't come to him. Maybe they do a cinematic match. Maybe they do a match there in Vancouver, some sort of, some sorts, so to speak. But John Cena is going to be part of WrestleMania, just maybe not physically at the venue, but he's going to be part of WrestleMania in some kind of way. I can almost guarantee that. But Canada with John Cena right now. That's kind of cool. Friday Night SmackDown tops 2.3 million views for the second week in a row. All I can say is keep it up, SmackDown. Be interesting tonight to see what happens, the fallout from the Royal Rumble there. Obviously, storylines coming to an end, the road to WrestleMania, as they call it. But it'll be interesting to see what happens on SmackDown if they keep up that viewership at 2.3 million people. That's pretty cool. Speaking of SmackDown, Kevin Owens' never before seen interview. Kevin got his wish. That is right now on YouTube as part of Chasing Glory with Lillian Garcia. You check that at CWNonline.ca for the link. R-Truth regains the 24/7 championship on the Michael K show. That was interesting as well. So that's on YouTube, but it's also on CWNonline.ca. Basically, R-Truth sneaks into the hotel room of Peter Rosenberg as he's doing the show. And the guys are trying to say, hey, you've got somebody in your room. And Truth has snuck through the balcony door with the referee. Next thing you know, there's chaos taking place, and the R-Truth pins him. So R-Truth, the new, once again, for like the 4 millionth time, 24/7 champion. WB celebrates Black History Month. So the whole month of February, that is tributes to Black men with regards to history as well as wrestling history. I'll get more into that at the end of the show, just to let you guys know what I'm doing myself to shine light on that there. Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 4 and 5 set for February. I'm going to bring up the article here. That was on the 2nd that news was released there. So where are we here? So Josh Barnett's Bloodsport's returning with 2 events this month. Bloodsport 4 and number 5 will air on back-to-back Saturdays, with Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 4 set for February 13th and Bloodsport 5 set for February 20th. Both shows are being held in the bare brick setting of an undisclosed location in Los Angeles, California, and will be available via iPay-per-view, so that probably should be on Fight. Each show will air at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time and be available on demand for 72 hours after the respective broadcast date. Bloodsport 5, the card hasn't been announced yet, but the card for Bloodsport 4, which is February 13th, is Chris Dickinson versus Jeff Cobb, Harry Smith, otherwise known as Davey Boy Smith Jr., taking on Calvin Tankman, Simon Grimm taking on Tom Lawler, Filthy Tom, Cal Jack taking on Nolan Edward, J.R. Kratos taking on Alex Coughlin, Super Beast taking on Bad Dude Tito, Royce Isaacs, I know he's NWA, taking on Calvin McCall, and Diogo Perez taking on Gil Gardado. I hope I pronounced that right there. But Bloodsport, if you're not familiar with it, the only way to win is by knockout or submission, I believe. So that is, if you're a fan of stuff like that, check it out. Like I said, next weekend. WB 2K Battlegrounds arrives on PlayStation Now. So that was announced on the 2nd. Alexa Bliss did the promo on YouTube there. So if you're a PlayStation fan, you can check that out. I am an Xbox lover, so I respect the PlayStation. I kind of grew up on the PlayStation, but now I'm all about Xbox there. Big news, as well. Lars Sullivan no longer with the WB. He kind of came back and then just disappeared. And then news broke that he's no longer part of WB. Several sources reporting at WB.com. I don't believe was one of those sources, but it just sounds like he had too many moments where he was unreliable, so to speak. Too many moments where he kind of no-showed and couldn't take, I guess, what am I trying to say? He couldn't be a superstar. He wanted to be, but he just couldn't be. Anxiety, whatever the case may be. But it's maybe not necessarily the end for him in wrestling. Maybe it's the end for him in wrestling right now, but we'll have to wait and see. But Lars Sullivan no longer part of WB. Stone Cold Steve Austin returns for exclusive interview. WB's The Bump. That was big, but the biggest 2 things about it to me when I watched it was Carlito was on the show, and they were praising him being in tremendous shape, which he was. They asked him if he's coming back or if it was a one-time thing. He couldn't really answer the question. And then Darius Leonard, linebacker for the Indianapolis Colts, they asked him to do a promo against Triple H, and the Triple H responded. So be interesting to see if they do anything with this. Obviously, football is done as of this coming Sunday, but it'll be interesting to see if they play on this at all, especially with the WrestleMania time and the NFLers being part of that. Jay Lethal resigns with ROH. That was announced on the 3rd. He basically is the franchise of ROH, current tag team champion there with the Octopus, Jonathan Gresham. So that's good news for ROH. Wrestling news, Rey Mysterio signs new WB contract. That was officially announced on the 3rd as well. So that was part of SI.com. I think Justin Barrasso had done the interview. And officially, WB TakeOver Vengeance Day is set to take place Sunday, February 14th. So NXT TakeOver isn't just NXT TakeOver now. It's actually got a name. So that was announced on the 3rd as well. Let me see if I got the article here. I don't think I did because there wasn't a lot to it. But yeah, officially, guys, the name of the article, not the name of the article, but the name of the pay-per-view, NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day, set to take place next Sunday. And they'll be live on the WB Network about 7 p.m., I believe. 2 matches taking place for sure. Finn Balor taking on Pete Dunne to clash for the NXT Championship. Johnny Gargano set to brawl with Kushida for the NXT North American Championship. Finally, I get my match that I've been wanting to see. And hopefully Kushida can take this and beat up Gargano, so to speak. Take it away from Johnny Wrestling. And then, like I say, Io Shirai defends against Mercedes Martinez as well as Toni Storm. So 3 matches set so far there. Kenta appears on AEW Dynamite, attacks Jon Moxley. That was phenomenal. So there's the second part of the what had happened from last Friday. Third part is Jon Moxley interview. The match is on. That was released on YouTube yesterday, so check that out. New Japan partners with the Roku channel in US, Canada, as well as the UK. So that was huge news because if you remember back at Wrestle Kingdom, there was news being talked about with regards to New Japan finding a home once again on stations or streaming services here in North America. So article comes out on the 4th. This is courtesy of NJPW1972.com. And it says, weekly New Japan Pro Wrestling program to premiere February 11th on the Roku channel with a block of New Japan Pro Wrestling library content to be made available on demand. February 4th. So New Japan Pro Wrestling today announced a partnership with Roku to bring New Japan Pro Wrestling content to the Roku channel in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. The Epiness, New Japan Pro Wrestling, a 1-hour weekly series featuring the athletic action of the world's preeminent pro wrestling organization, will air episodes featuring top matches and events that have yet to air on television outside of Japan. It says, premiering February 11th, episodes of New Japan Pro Wrestling will air every Thursday beginning at 5 p.m. on the Roku channel, beginning with 10 special episodes that will see the US, UK, and Canadian television premiere of Wrestle Kingdom 14, available on demand thereafter. Additionally, the Roku channel will host a block of library content featuring key highlights from the 2020 New Japan catalog, with potential for the introduction of more historical content in the future. And the article goes on. So, guys, you can check that out, CWNonline.ca or NJPW1972.com. But that is huge news for us here in North America as well as the UK. Action Arcade Wrestling coming to console spring of 2021. I think that was the former Chikara game that was supposed to come out, and then all of a sudden Chikara no longer exists, but I think that was their game there. I know it's on Steam right now, but it's also coming out for the Nintendo Switch, the Xbox One, and the PS4. So look for the announcement there, but you can check out the hype video on CWNonline.ca. TJ Wilson on working as a WWE producer, Owen Hart's death from perspective. Natty Neidhart, that was an interview released by Chris Van Vliet. The video version on YouTube, that was yesterday. So that's Insight with Chris Van Vliet with TJ Wilson. So check that out. Triple Threat Revolver comes to No Surrender. This I'm kind of looking forward to because it's an interesting concept here. So I'm going to bring up the article here if I can find it. And that's one of the things about Impact Wrestling. I can never seem to find the article right away, is because their logo doesn't appear. Their little emoticon, so to speak, doesn't appear. Favicon, sorry, not emoticon, but Favicon doesn't appear when I go looking for it. But anyways, Triple Threat Revolver comes to No Surrender, February 4th. Do you love Triple Threat matches? Well, then this Triple Threat Revolver is for you. On February 13th at No Surrender, Trey Miguel, Chris Bay, Josh Alexander, Blake Christian, Ace Austin, Willie Mack, Suicide, and Daivare would compete in one of the most unique and action-packed matches in pro wrestling. 3 competitors start the match. When one is pinned or submitted, another will enter the fray. Triple threat matches will continue until there's no more entrants, in which the final pinfall or submission will earn the victor a shot at the X Division Championship. So I'm a fan of this. This should be cool. I don't think it's ever been done before, at least to my knowledge. So it's an interesting take on a triple threat match, but it's got the X Division guys in it, so it'll be pretty cool there. Kenta and Omega versus Moxley and Archer added to next week's Dynamite. I'll get more into that when I do the highlights of the week there. AEW Beach Break finishes third on cable. I cannot talk this week. NXT drops out of the top 50, so I'll get more into that as well. Meiko Satomaro to make NXT UK debut next week, so look for that on NXT UK. WB Q4 financial notes, record yearly revenue, Peacock optimism. That was released yesterday, so if you go to f4wonline.com, and I'll have it up eventually on CWNonline.ca. You can check that out. There is an audio version that has been released, so the actual media call itself has been released courtesy of F4W Wrestling Observer there. So check that out. Something I saw just before I went on the air as well is, quote, "I will no longer be known as Cheeseburger," unquote. That was released yesterday. So apparently Cheeseburger of ROH is no longer going by Cheeseburger, I think, as of next week. So that'd be interesting there to see what he does with his gimmick. Maybe he'll go from cheeseburger to hamburger. I don't know. We'll see. Steve Cutler released from WWE. Cutler comments. Perazzo has a Twitter comment as well. This I didn't know. So I didn't know the two of them were dating. This came out last night, so later last night with regards to the release there. So WWE.com put out, Steve Cutler, former member of the Forgotten Sons, has been released to the WWE. The company made the announcement today and wished Cutler well in future endeavors. Then we go on to, unfortunately today I was released, so this was him talking there. It was shocking to say the least, but I'm excited about the future and all about the possibilities in front of me. Thanks for your continued support. So that was from Steve Cutler himself after the news broke. And then the Virtuosa, so Impact Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo, the two of them are dating, had come out and said as well, Steve Cutler and I had tested positive for COVID at the beginning of January. We had no symptoms, but took all necessary precautions. Thank you for the well wishes, but we are healthy and good spirits. When one door closes, another opens. So, it'd be interesting to see if Steve Cutler ends up with Impact Wrestling there, especially with his girlfriend as Impact Wrestling champion. But I think Cutler used to be a former Marine or military guy. I think there was two of them of the Forgotten Sons that were military. I think he was one of them, but not sure exactly how old he is. But it's interesting because the fact is, the last time you saw him, he was part of Baron Corbin's gimmick there on SmackDown. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, they disappear. And obviously he disappeared because of the COVID thing back in January. And then they released him. But, I definitely agree. They release him, and somebody else will pick him up, and he'll become maybe a bigger name than he was there in NXT as well as the WWE. Speaking of former names, former WB star Aiden English barrels into the whiskey world. So check that out. Slam Wrestling, that was released today. There's an article there. Aiden English does not look like a whiskey guy. You think of his gimmick, and you think about just the way he looks. He looks more like kind of a Frasier type. From the TV show, who he likes the fancy stuff, not whiskey, but I'm going to have to check that out. Apparently he's got a YouTube show as well. So like I said, Slam Wrestling, former WB star Aiden English barrels into whiskey world. That's the article that's up there. Big news that came out today as well. Cesaro agrees to new contract with the WWE. This was confirmed by multiple sources there. So I'm going to bring up the article here. The latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that Cesaro has either signed or verbally agreed to a new contract with WWE. There have been reports going around regarding the status of Cesaro. Meltzer wrote, either he has signed or verbally agreed to a new deal a few weeks ago. The gauntlet match that Adam Pearce won on SmackDown, the babyface star making a spot of running through the field and then getting screwed at the end, was the idea of Daniel Bryan, and his pick for the spot was Cesaro. However, since Cesaro hadn't signed yet, it was switched to Nakamura. So Cesaro was going to be the face originally, but even if some thought Nakamura got over in his match, and without live fans, there's no way to really know. Since he was a replacement, the plan wasn't to follow up much, which is why he basically got in the same spot, only on the face side. So Cesaro is 40 years old, but I mean, you could never guess by the way he moves in that ring, the intensity he still has, the matches he still puts on. I remember way back, probably 15, 16 years ago, when I was doing my original podcast there. The guy I was doing the podcast was a huge Claudio Castagnoli fan. I was like, who the heck is Claudio Castagnoli? And then sure enough, I learned who he is. And then the next thing you know, he ends up in the WWE as Cesaro, Antonio Cesaro. But pretty cool there. And last bit of news as far as the world of pro wrestling goes, Stipe Miocic. You're like, well, okay, he's UFC MMA. Why are you talking about him? Because he is on the latest edition of Oral Sessions with Renee Paquette. That was released just today, just before I went on the air there. Apparently, he's a gamer. Apparently, the first little clip that you see on the YouTube channel there, he's being asked if he wants to play Call of Duty, but the way it was put, it kind of made me laugh, made Renee laugh as well. So kind of cool there. And sorry, last bit of news as far as pro wrestling goes. WWE Untold APA premiering this Sunday at 8 p.m. on the WWE Network. So guys, if you're not watching the Super Bowl, definitely go and check that out with regards to the APA. It will be on demand as far as WWE Network goes, but if you want to actually watch the premiere, like I said, 8 p.m. WWE Network this coming Sunday there. So highlights of the week with regards to wrestling. Edge McIntyre Sheamus promo on Raw. Riddle defeats Lashley by DQ. We see a different side of Lashley. Ashley and Riddle is kind of knocked silly. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with his character from there. Woods defeats Mustafa Ali. Kofi Kingston was ringside, so Kofi's officially back. Miz TV had Bad Bunny and they debuting Damian Priest. Priest then defeats The Miz. Alexander and Benjamin retain against Lucha House Party. Still kind of big brother, little brother thing going on between Alexander and Benjamin. Naomi and Lana defeat Asuka and Flair and Brooke and Rose to become the number one contenders. No surprise there. Hardy and Carlito. So Carlito, second night in a row, he's working for WWE. Defeats Riker and Elias. Alexa Bliss defeats Nikki Cross. Obviously, the stuff going on in the match where she transforms back into Alexa Bliss, back into the character she is now. And then the very end was Edge defeating Randy Orton, apparently the last time ever. And there was Alexa Bliss spot where all of a sudden she's up on the turnbuckle and Randy's kind of just confused and there's this black goo coming out of her mouth. And then by the time that's over, Edge ends up, getting the win there. So they're still playing off Randy Orton versus The Fiend. So it'll be interesting to see where they go, from there. Dark highlights, 13 matches, plus the waiting room this week had Ricky Starks, my apologies. Impact highlights, Havoc defeats Steels, Shamrock suspension officially, so it looks like he might be gone from Impact Wrestling. Alexander defeats Fulton, so the singles run of Josh Alexander starting to take place. Larry D defeats Crazy Steve. Sami Callihan, Trey promo in the back. It'll be interesting there because apparently Trey looked like he was going to turn heel, maybe listen to Sami Callihan, but then all of a sudden on Twitter, he was kind of like F him. So he wants a match. He wants Sami's head on a stick, I think were the exact words. So it'll be interesting to see Trey, singles career versus Sami Callihan there. Jordan Grace defeats Susan. ODB returns, so she's officially back. We get a Tony Schiavone promo, which was kind of comical because Tony Schiavone's wearing a little shark kind of hat, the whole promo there, and Tony Khan just being it's hard to explain how he is, but he's just arrogant jackass. That's all I can say about Tony Khan as far as the promos go anyway. Rohit Raju basically gets a win over TJP in a non-title match. Mahabali Shira is back with Raju. So the two of those guys, former tag team champions there. And then the main event, Moose and Chris Bay defeats Rich Swann and Tommy Dreamer. And you see at the very end, Moose holding up both championships. So pretty cool moment there as far as Impact Wrestling goes. ROH highlights, ROH Pure title match. Jonathan Gresham defeats Joe Keys. And then the OGK, which is the Original Kingdom, defeat the Bouncers. MLW highlights, which I haven't seen this week yet. Jordan Oliver defeats Sentai Death Squad. Los Parks retain against TJP and Buko Deo. Gino Medina defeats Gringo Loco. And then the Barclay Brawl is Hammerstone defeating Mads Kruger there. And apparently Contra Unit got involved with that one at the very end. Dynamite, which I actually watched that as well as NXT. So it's interesting because it's how do you pay attention? But I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of good at multitasking sometimes, so it's props to myself, I guess. But Sarge Jericho, MJF defeats Private Party, The Acclaimed, Top Flight, Jurassic Express. Stu Grayson, Evil Uno represent, by the way. Santana Ortiz, Silver and Reynolds, and Hager and Guevara, Young Bucks in a tag team battle royal. The end came down to Jericho and Darius Martin, and it was cool. But basically, it I kind of saw this one happening as Martin was coming up. Jericho hits him with the Judas effect, and then he falls to the floor, and then it's the win for those two. One of the big things about the match, though, was Jericho end up eliminating, accidentally, so to speak, Sammy Guevara. So plays into the rest of the show here. From there, we go into Darby Allin Sting Team Taz promo. Britt Baker defeats Thunder Rosa. A pretty good match there. Thunder Rosa made her look strong, so I'll leave it at that. Adam Page, so Hangman Page, Matt Hardy defeats Chaos Project. Inner Circle promo, and this basically looks like the beginning of the end of the Inner Circle as we know it. So basically, Sammy and Jericho are at odds. MJF is taking over as the leader. As the door is shutting, Wardlow's leaving the cameraman out. So it's going to be interesting to see when they play this off. Obviously, I think it's Revolution taking place next month. But you'll see the tension happen for the next month or so. The wedding takes place. It is what it is. Archer defeats Kingston in a lumberjack match. FTR Marco stunt promo. So basically, they were on a tour bus, and then FTR had Marco stunt tied up. Tully Blanchard cutting promos on Marco. So obviously, the feud continuing between Jurassic Express and FTR. And then the main event, Omega, the Good Brothers defeats Moxley, Phoenix, and Pac. And then we see the debut of Kenta. And it was phenomenal. The main event, I got to say, was one of the best in Impact, not Impact, but AEW Dynamite history. And then you had that ending with Kenta coming out, and he sneak attacks Moxley, takes off the hood, takes off the bandana, so to speak, lays him out with the GTS to go to sleep. And that's the way it ends. And it's like, holy crap, Kenta is part of AEW, so to speak, right now. So they're continuing what happened on New Japan Strong last Friday into AEW right now, and it basically it's making me excited as a fan. As you can see, the Bullet Club shirt behind me there. But in saying that as well, the Moxley promos that have been airing online, as well as the match that's been set up next week with Omega teaming with Kenta, taking on Moxley and Archer. I can't wait. As well as part of the show was the women's tourney for the AEW Women's number one contender, so to speak, was set up with names announced such as who is it? I want to say Nia Jax, but Nyla. Oh, why am I forgetting her name? Nyla Rose? Is that right? Oh, I'm kick myself next week, but I'll have the official names. But you can go to AEW on Twitter and check out the names. But the way it works is Japan on one side, US on the other side. Winner gets to face Hikaru Shida. Riho is part of the US side, so obviously she's been back. But from the sounds of it, from what I've heard, they're going to do all the Japanese matches over there in Japan. They're going to have all the American matches over here in America. They might show either the winners or the results or clips of what's happening there in Japan. And then eventually you'll have basically, the US versus Japan. Hopefully COVID's lifted a little bit. And then the winner goes on to face Hikaru Shida for the title there. But like I said, go on to Twitter for AEW and you'll be able to find out all the names there. NXT highlights. Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez defeats Casey Catanzaro as well as Carter. I always forget her first friggin' name. And then it's like, anyways. Yeah, Catanzaro and Carter are gone. Dusty semifinals, that was. Austin Theory, who I think is going to be a huge star, defeats Leon Ruff. He just looks like a superstar, and obviously with Johnny Gargano sitting there doing his promo, his hype work, just a matter of time before I think Austin Theory turns on Gargano. Be interested to see if Gargano stays heel, if he goes face, but I think it's only a matter of time before that happens. So, like I said, Theory defeats Ruff. Legado Don Fantasma defeats Lucha House Party. Then we have an Edge Ballard Dunn promo, and that was pretty cool there. And Pete Dunne's playing off like he could care less, and Edge kind of called him on it, which was kind of funny. Tony Storm defeats Jesse Kamea by DQ. Mercedes Martinez got involved. We got Escobar retains against Kurt Stallion. Match actually took place. And then Ciampa and Thatcher defeats the Undisputed Era in the Dusty Cup quarterfinals. And then there was an Edge and Karrion Kross promo. Yeesh, I cannot talk. Edge and Karrion Kross promo that took place sometime during the event. But it was, I'm not sure exactly when it was. I think it was before Karrion ended up attacking Santos, so to speak. But it was basically Edge leaving the arena, and Karrion gets up in his face, and Edge is kind of like, be careful what you wish for, you know what I mean? And they're playing, to me, it's like just seeing the two face to face, it makes me enough to want to, be able to see that match. But whether or not they do it, I don't know, pull the trigger, so to speak. But Karrion's one of those guys who's, ever since he was part of Impact Wrestling, I've been a fan of the guy. So to see him in a match with Edge, I'd love to see it. But we got to get through WrestleMania first. NXT UK highlights: Nina Samuels defeats Zia Brookside. Joseph Connors defeats Josh Morrell. Dragunov defeats Tyson T-Bone by ref stoppage. And then we got Joe Coffey defeating Danny Jones. And then the main event, Jordan Devlin defeats Dave Mastiff in a non-title match there. I'm going along with pro wrestling. I didn't think there was a lot of news, but obviously there is. Ratings for the week: 1,892,000 for Raw, 0.58 in the 18 to 49 demo that made them first for the night. Canada, 292,500. First for the night in sports as far as the national rating for Canada goes as well. Impact 173, so 173,000, 0.05 in the 18 to 49 demo, 125th for the night as far as where they ranked. And then AEW 844 for the night, 0.32 in the 18 to 49 demo, third for the night. Canada 102,300, so 102,300. 60,900 of those were in the 25 to 54 demo, and they were third for the night in sports here in Canada. And they absolutely killed NXT. So even with the hype of Edge going down there to NXT, fact is, when it came down to it, 844 and NXT had 610. I feel bad for NXT. They've got to do something. I mean, they have the talent, they have the stars, they have all the right guys down there, but something is not clicking. And to me, it's, what do? Do you move them temporarily to the maybe Tuesday night and, have them basically try it for a couple of weeks, have them try it for a month? It's 610 versus 844, and both shows were kind of built up huge. Edge coming off the Royal Rumble win, and it's going to be interesting tonight because Edge is supposed to be on SmackDown as well as Bianca Belair. So if SmackDown continues that 2.3 million person rating, so to speak, it's, what do you do with NXT? Do you move them back to being on the WB network? I know fans, even Canadian independent wrestlers were upset with the fact that we can't see NXT here in Canada unless we stream it, unless we have a US streaming subscription. But we got 1 hour condensed version later on tonight at 7:00 p.m. on Sportsnet 360. But the excitement is just not there for NXT right now. So in saying that, 610,000 people tuned in, 0.15 in the 18 to 49 demo. 51st for the night. So you go AEW third for the night to NXT 51st for the night. And they end up killing them by 234,000 fans. So still a lot of people tuning in, but the fact is a lot more people tuning in to AEW than they are with regards to NXT right now. Previews. So Royal Rumble Fallout obviously tonight for SmackDown. Nothing listed as far as when I went on the air for 205 Live. And then New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong NJPW Strong preview. Main event, Ray Horus taking on TJP tonight. And this is the beginning of the Road to the New Beginning USA 2021. So check that out. New Japan World, 10:00 p.m. tonight. From there, MMA quick news. Canadian flyweight Jillian Robinson faces Miranda Maverick at UFC 258. check that out. The article will be up soon on cwnonline.ca, but originally it was on Sportsnet. One championship, Unbreakable 3, actually took place earlier this morning, so you can check out the full video on cwnonline.ca. UFC Fight Night takes place tomorrow, so that's Overeem taking on Volkov. UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Main card at 8 p.m. on TSN 5. Prelims at 5 p.m. on TSN 5. Heavyweight belt is Alistair the Demolition Man Overeem. Yes, that same guy who beat Brock Lesnar, taking on Alexander Drago Volkov. And that's number 5 Overeem taking on number 6 Volkov in that division there. So guys, that is it for wrestling as well as MMA goes. I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to play a promo by the one and only Ryan Knight of Knights of the Squared Circle here. Have a drink of water, and I'll be back just momentarily. So sit back and watch this promo here.
Are you a pro wrestling fan? Do you want the latest info on shows and the stars that appear throughout Ontario? Are you looking for information and insight into the independent wrestling scene? Want interviews and information on the big leagues? Then you want Knights of the Squared Circle with Ryan Knight on Coyote 103. Ryan has his finger on the pulse of wrestling in Ontario on every level, and he brings that to you every Sunday at noon. Listen for your wrestling fix with Ryan Knight and Knights of the Squared Circle, Sunday at noon, only on Coyote 103.
Hey guys, welcome back. That was Ryan Knight's promo for Knights of the Squared Circle, as you can hear every Sunday at noon on Coyote 103. Interesting to see, what's coming from Ryan right now as far as Facebook goes. Apparently, he went on the Jericho cruise last year, and when he came back, he had like a huge headache going on, and then luckily his fiance at the time had said, "Hey, maybe you should go get checked out." And it ended up being a brain bleed, and he's doing okay, but I had no idea. And apparently there was something he said about he wanted to leave the hospital. I'm like, yeah, dude, your brain is bleeding. There's no way in the world. But it's scary that something like that from a headache into the hospital to hear about that. So thoughts and prayers and well wishes to Ryan Knight in 100% recovery there. Obviously, he's been on a couple of shows I've done. But you just never know. You know what I mean? So check him out, Knights of the Squared Circle. I think it's knightsofthesc.com is his official website there. But that was his promo there. And guys, if you have any promos, feel free to send them to me, because I'd love to be able to play what I want to as far as promos go. But with this show being on YouTube, Twitch, I don't think it's too bad. Facebook has, a little bit of a gray area, but the fact is, when it comes down to it, if there's music involved that's copyrighted, whatever the case may be, it's copyright strikes and whatever the case may be. So I kind of got to be careful with what I play. I'd love to be able to play all the promos in the world, some of the old school stuff I have, but I can't. But if you have a promo for your show, whether or not it be Ontario Independent Wrestling, Canadian Independent Wrestling, whatever the case may be, feel free. Feedback at cwnonline.ca. Hit me up. Let me know. 30 seconds, 60 seconds, or whatever the case may be, and let me know about your show there. So like I said, feedback at cwnonline.ca. But guys, this is a portion of the show I talk about We Are CIW, hashtag in front of that. So simply put, stands for Canadian Independent Wrestling. So CanadianIndependentWrestling.ca, so you can see across the bottom of the screen there. Check that out. That forwards you to the group. As far as the group goes, like I said, just keep it clean. But promote your podcast, your gimmick, your next show when that happens, any kind of merchandise you're selling, whatever the case may be. Like I said, it is a group devoted to promoting Canadian independent wrestling. Like I said, hashtag We Are CIW. But not much going on as far as Canadian independent wrestling goes right now, obviously, but a lot of things happening on YouTube. Again, feedback at cwnonline.ca as far as anything that's out there that you want me to know about, because I tend to focus it on the website as well as the YouTube channel that I have. But in saying that, 365 Pro Wrestling Podcast, episode number 88, featuring Nolan James, that was on the 2nd. So all this stuff, by the way, is YouTube. Vidcast 35, featuring Black Lavender Lionel Knight, was released on the 4th by George Mackay of Straight Talk Wrestling. Episode number 77, Sebastian Suave versus Shane Saber. Alessandro Del Bruno versus Jesse V for the AD Championship. That was yesterday as well as part of Bordertown Pro Wrestling. MPW Into the Lair, episode number 12, Wrath versus Dark Horse, released yesterday as well. So that was Monster Pro Wrestling MPW. Spencer Love interviews, and this could go pro as well, but the one and only Chelsea Green. But they end up talking about ECCW out there in Vancouver, as well as Chelsea's independent, history, as well as what she's doing today. But check that out. Spencer Love has great interviews there. So Chelsea Green, that was launched today. That you can check out at CWNonline.ca or the YouTube channel. Big Ticket Reggie Marley's Top 5. Haven't seen that yet. That launched right before I went on the air here. But that was released today as part of 365 Pro Wrestling. Episode number 82, Jake Heavyweight Jones with Miss April Jones taking on Evan Greenaway. That was released just before I went on the air here. But that's CPW. So that's, like I said, today. And then free match, Handsome JF versus Rene Dupree, Maritime Zone Rene Dupree from Just for Laughs 2019. Released today as well as part of FLQ Wrestling. So guys, check that out. The YouTube channel simply is youtube.com/CWN Online, or go to CWNonline.ca, the official website for us, and check that out there. As well as Canadian Independent Wrestling, the third in his series, launched this week. So it's a new series, so to speak, that was named Sluggin' with Stephen O'Neill. And he's had Anthony Kingdom James a couple of weeks ago. Last week, he had done 10 questions with the one and only Jim Strider, Tyson Duke's wrestling graduate there, as well as this week, Tuesday, Slugging with Stephen O'Neill featuring Vaughn Vertigo. So that is up on the website right now. So CWNonline.ca. So good stuff coming out of Stephen. A lot of good answers from the independent stars as well. But that launches every Tuesday at 6 as far as a new interview goes. But you can, Steven's got his own special section as well, so you can find out, where any kind of interviews that he's done. You'll always see them posted on the front page of the website, and then you can check out Steven's bio as well. But Slugging It with Stephen O'Neill and Vaughn Vertigo was this week. So guys, CanadianIndependentWrestling.ca, like I said, that is the group there. And then more importantly, and like I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, is this here. And I'm going to quickly do up this hashtag because it is the month of February. And I believe this is important for so many different reasons, but is Black History Month. And in saying that, it's mattered to a lot of major sports history as well, with regards to Canadian history, U.S. history, world history. But here in Canada, when you think about Fergie Jenkins, you think about guys with regards to wrestlers, so to speak. Some of these guys were major stars without getting the spotlight shined on them. And when that started to happen, they changed the business. They changed the world, so to speak. So in saying that, the first person I want to highlight this month for Black History Month is the one and only Rocky Johnson, the father of The Rock. So Rocky Johnson, born August 24th, 1944, passed away January 15th of 2020, was a Canadian-American professional wrestler. Among many national wrestling NWA titles, he was the first Black Georgia heavyweight champion. He won the World Tag Team Championship in 1983 along with his partner Tony Atlas to become the very first Black champions in WWE history. He is also the father of actor and former WWE wrestler Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So like I said, born August 24th, 1944. He was born in Amherst, Nova Scotia, Canada. One of those guys, Rocky Johnson, again, before my time, but the fact is you always heard about his name. And then when, The Rock came in, they started doing their tag team, so to speak, with regards to WrestleMania 13, everything else, you heard more about him. But to talk about his career, to talk about, what he accomplished, he was part of Big Time Wrestling, Championship Wrestling from Florida, Continental Wrestling Association, Georgia's Championship Wrestling, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, NWA All-Star Wrestling, NWA Big Time Wrestling, NWA Hollywood Wrestling, NWA Mid-America, San Francisco, Polynesian Wrestling, Pacific Northwest Wrestling. Pro Wrestling Illustrated ranked 211 of the 500 best singles wrestlers during the PWI years in 2003. St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, class of 2008. Like I said, WB World Tag Team Championship with Tony Atlas. That was back in the 80s. And then WB Hall of Fame, class of 2008. And the fact is, Rocky Johnson it was one of those guys that was a trailblazer, so to speak, to take the words from The Rock. But the fact is, without him, the legacy of the guys who came after him wouldn't be kind of as big, so to speak. And with saying that, obviously you see, the tie-ins with regards to Ron Simmons, with regards to WCW, and The Rock with regards to WB, and then Bianca Belair. And it was something that was said, I believe, on the bump this past Wednesday with regards to her becoming the second African-American to ever win the Royal Rumble. The Rock obviously was the first, but her being the second, for women, so to speak. But that's, to me, is absolutely phenomenal, to see, February being devoted to Black History Month. But you'll see the hashtag on the website, CWNonline.ca, as well as social media accounts, as well as you'll see me weekly through the end of February pay tribute to somebody for Black History Month. So hashtag Black History Month. And like I said, my focus this week was the one and only Rocky Johnson there. So you'll see at the very end of the show, there'll be a graphic there with regards to tribute to Rocky Johnson. So from there, guys, CWN Online, when are we back? We are back, episode number 26. Officially coming up next week. So that'll be live February 12th, 3 p.m. live on Facebook, Twitter, as well as not Twitter. Sorry, live on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. So like I said, episode number 26, February 12th, 3 p.m. CWN predicts Impact Wrestling No Surrender 2021, February 13th, 3 p.m. live on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. So I'll be me doing my predictions for No Surrender 2021, as well as with the follow-up. So the recap show taking place on February 13th at 11 p.m.-ish. If I can stay awake that long. Usually I can stay awake for the pay-per-view, no problem at all. It's trying to do a show after it's whatever the case may be. The past couple months, I've been more tired than anything, but I am raising a 2.5-year-old toddler, so that's probably got something to do with it. But if I can go live for a recap, it'll be like I said, February 13th, 11 p.m.-ish for No Surrender. If not, it'll be the following day, so that's Sunday, so to speak. From there, CWN Weekly on social media. When I say CWN Weekly, we have our own separate account for that show. So when I get enough followers, you'll be seeing this show here go weekly on the accounts, so to speak, for YouTube, Twitch, as well as Facebook, specifically for CWN Weekly. I kind of want to branch it off to be its separate entity. You'll always see the prediction shows and the recap shows on this channel here, as well as future stuff that I'll announce probably within the next couple of weeks. But like I said, CWN Weekly, look for it on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, as well as YouTube there. Big news as well. CWN is part of Amazon Music now. I had no idea Amazon Music was doing podcasts. So with regards to that, Amazon Music, I got an email saying, hey, we're doing podcasts now. So I sure enough found the way to subscribe, well, not subscribe, but to post my podcast and this podcast. And then sure enough, CWN's on Amazon Music. So you can check that out if you're a fan of Amazon Music. We're also on Spotify, as well as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that sort of jazz there. CWN as well, looking for contributors. So if you're looking to do show recaps, pay-per-view recaps, you want to write a column, independent wrestler who's got time on their hands, and basically you want you want to share your thoughts on your career so far, or what's taking place in the pro scene, or what you're looking forward to the most as far as coming back to wrestling as a whole, post COVID. Hit me up, Chris at CWNonline.ca. That's Chris at CWNonline.ca, and let me know. But if you're looking to contribute, as far as wrestling or mixed martial arts go, and you need a platform, CWN is it for you. We get hits from all over the world, lots of new visitors every single day. And the fact is, I enjoy doing the website. I've been doing it, since January the 18th of 2009. So it's 12 years strong, so to speak. But in saying that, if you're looking for a platform to be a contributor to, Chris at CWNonline.ca is the best way to get in touch with me there. From there, CWNonline.ca is our website, obviously. The best way to get in touch with the website, feedback at CWNonline.ca. That's the best way to share thoughts on the show itself, what you want to see added, what you'd like to see as far as maybe interviews go down the road, just anything at all. But feedback at CWNonline.ca with regards to the show itself there. With regards to me, at Chris Maloney CWN, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, Reddit. That's the best way to reach me as far as my wrestling content goes personally. So at Chris Maloney CWN, or like I said, my email address, Chris at CWNonline.ca. Last but not least, you see me wearing this hat. They never stood a chance this year. I tell you that much. But born and bred Patriots fan from the East Coast, obviously St. John, New Brunswick. So I grew up watching Pats games on Sunday afternoons. But the fact is, when it comes down to it, I'll always be a Pats fan. They sucked this year. But in saying that, Super Bowl is 2 days away. It's the Super Bowl 55. Kansas City Chiefs, who went 14-2 this year, taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who went 11-5. 6:30 p.m. Eastern on CTV. I mean, basically, you can turn on the channel probably 11 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and it's all Super Bowl coverage there. It'd be interesting to see with regards to the Super Bowl this year, because last year they didn't have to deal with COVID yet. So this year's going to be a lot of virtual stuff and everything else. But who is it? The Weeknd, I think, is doing the halftime show. That'll obviously be virtual. I think they announced 22,000 fans, being part of the Super Bowl. A lot of them being, first care workers, so to speak. So it'll be interesting there. But it'll be interesting to see how they do Super Bowl this year. But in saying that, as a football fan, I had to wear my Pats hat today, because it's last time for the season to be able to wear it until either number one, they sign somebody huge, or number two, August comes about, and hopefully the preseason, so to speak, is taking place. But in saying that, I don't know who I'm going for. Tom Brady, 6 Super Bowls with the Pats, but then the way he left kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. And I'll say this as a sports fan. Martin Brodeur, I love the New Jersey Devils, as well as the Ottawa Senators. But when Brodeur left and he played that year with St. Louis, it's a sour taste in my mouth as well. So if St. Louis had gone to the Cup, I don't know if I would have been a fan of Brodeur. I love Brodeur though, but playing for a different team, it's different. And then Brady, but you've also got Gronk. So against Mahomes and the Chiefs, like I said, 14-2, 11-5, but it's Brady. And when you look back to Super Bowls, as far as the Pats go, and I'll be the first to say they got a lot of times that they won Super Bowls. It was because of guys like Adam Vinatieri, kicking the ball. The Malcolm Butler, interception, so to speak, against the Seahawks that one year. It's been stuff like that, but I think. If Brady, I'll tell you this, he's a GOAT, but if he wants to be the GOAT, to beat Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs, last year's Super Bowl champions, at the Bucks' backyard, so they're playing in Raymond James Stadium, so you get a feel what WrestleMania 37 is going to look like as well. But I don't know who I'm going for. It'll be interesting. I'll talk about it next week on the show. But that's enough about football talk there. But like I said, Super Bowl 55 taking place, Kansas City Chiefs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 6:30 p.m. CTV. And if you're not into the Super Bowl, definitely check out the APA WB Untold on the WB Network this coming Sunday as well. So guys, that is it for the week. That is it for the show. I'll be back next week with episode number 26. With regards to CWN Weekly, and then, like I said, predict show, a recap show next week as well. Once again, thoughts and prayers are with the family, friends, and fans of Christopher Plummer, who passed away at the age of 91. And then thoughts and prayers and are with Butch Reed, passed away at the age of 66 today as well. So, guys, that is it. Take care. Life's too short sometimes. Watch lots of wrestling. But we'll see everybody again next week. Enjoy the Super Bowl if you're watching it. And if not, I'll still be talking about it next week, and I'll fill everybody in. So thanks, guys. Take care, and we'll see everybody next week.